G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is Maciej Baj, founder and CTO of t3rn, the universal execution layer that powers cross-chain secure transactions using smart contracts which interact safely across different networks. We're really excited to have Maciej on the show to discuss why interoperability holds back user adoption, why we need cross-chain swaps, and how chain-agnostic smart contracts are the way forward. If you are a Web3 junkie or nerd, you're going to love this episode. Let's dive in. Let's start then with your origin story. How did you get started in Web3? And in particular, how did you get started as a developer in Web3?
The origin story there. So I started working as a developer back in Poland, Wrocław. Worked there with Nokia, with a couple of other guys, very much hooked on crypto in, let's say, the pre-ICO era of the crypto days.
Yep.
So it was 15, 16 kind of things. And then, a couple of them have left to Berlin, and I just followed their footsteps. Didn't know that Berlin was back then really like a spring of crypto. So many good crypto projects and so many thought space was condensed in the Berlin space, really. Yeah. So I picked up work at Lisk. The friends of mine, they were working for the Ethereum core, the main Ethereum client. They rewrote everything to Rust, and I believe started off with thinking on the a bigger interoperable space in general. So we had the opportunity to work and to discuss the cross-chain in general. Before the cross-chain was kind of a functional, the first kind of idea space. So in Lisk, we were doing this sidechain thing. So there was the approach essentially, the sidechain kind of idea. Then the Polkadot guys, they were kind of pursuing this kind of relay chain, parachain kind of ideas. But then it was also 2000, I believe, 16, 17, when there was a Cosmos ICO and all of these ideas about the zone, hopping between the zones. I believe the ideas were kind of aligned. Yeah, we all tried to think of the good approaches, how to solve the problem of going from one chain to another while not losing the security of blockchain coherence in moving in one kind of sphere of the ledger. But the solutions and ideas were, I believe, largely different. And by then it was all moving into really idea phase, before none of it was really applied to the industry yet.
What made you interested in blockchain in the first place? So you're in Poland working, for Nokia, for example, you said. How did you even come across blockchain back in 2015?
Oh, I had no idea. Somehow was up there in India, so it was really not so much going on, I believe, back then in Poland. It's also a crypto share space, but I did have a big love of interacting with the right people and the right minds. Sure. And it was just to me the most exciting thing to talk about. And there was a lot of this anarchy kind of thoughts in it. Going beyond kind of one centralized system, but rather keeping the power in the hands of the user on what is it that they would like to do with their funds without the kind of the central power interacting with it. So it was still for me, very, idealistic, beautiful, and at the same time, it just was beautiful for me to move around all of this, mathematical kind of algorithms directly applied to the code. So it was just for me the most, exciting area technically to work in.
Yeah, man. So part philosophical alignment, part exciting, vocationally in terms of mathematics and code and whatnot. So you're working with Lisk back in the day. I haven't heard of Lisk for a while. Ethereum. How did you end up being a founder?
So from Lisk, I guess, kind of picking up all of these ideas of the projects mentioned before, so the idea for t3rn, it really has started, okay, so there's so many ecosystems evolving by themselves. Cosmos, how to jump from zone to zone, Polkadot, how to jump from relay chain to parachain to one chain to another, how to jump from one chain to another. Then Ethereum started off with the roll-up kind of approach, so like L2s, condensing the state into the Ethereum, and then everything stays over there. The idea for t3rn, it was like observing that all of these things, they grow kind of concurrently, in a sense. So the big idea behind t3rn, it was how not to tap into all of these growing interoperable ecosystems and harness the power kind of at once. So that was the very definition of t3rn from the beginning. Let's create a system which can interact with all of them, meaning it's kind of like language agnostic into the chains that it wants to speak to and wants to read the data from. Doesn't really live in one specific ecosystem, but rather from the very much beginning allows smart contract developers and also the users to hop from one chain to another, kind of forgetting about this difficulty that actually behind the scenes there is multiple different architectures, there's multiple different blockchains, there is EVM, there is WASM, there is, ideally developers/users don't want to even hear about what is it that is going on there behind the scenes, because it's very confusing.
Totally. They just want to use it, right? They want it to work.
Yeah, we would hope so, but...
So what problem then would you say is t3rn solving?
So fragmented ecosystems, fragmented liquidity, different programming languages, different ecosystems being used across the interoperable industry in general. Like in essence, we would like to provide the sort of an umbrella, that like you have assets and application in one blockchain, but you would like to move them around. So you would like to solve essentially being clustered to one single blockchain. So whatever interoperability is solving, t3rn is solving as well. The unique approach is taking is we always kind of condense all of these ideas back to, okay, how is it that for the user-facing perspective, so it's developer-facing perspective, we always want to have this friction removed as much as possible. So we want to provide like one single interface for either users, different services, developers to interact with, to reach to the different cross-chain ecosystems.
How did you end up getting the partnership with Polkadot? Is that like a picking a team, or is that here's some infrastructure that we can work on foundationally, or how did you end up working with them?
Yes, it was like a beautiful, really tool set provisioned by Polkadot in terms of, I think it's called differently. I think it's called Polkadot SDK now. It started off as a substrate. But what it really was, it was this set of libraries to be used to prototype any, independent chain and kind of like borrow plugins, depending if you want them on your own particular chain or not. So it was like a very nice selection for prototyping the system like t3rn, that from the beginning on, it should be programming language agnostic, it should be ecosystem agnostic, consensus agnostic. So it was like a wonderful prototyping space for us. And effectively, it has laid out the ground to what t3rn is right now. So like then we have kind of evolved of moving out of the Polkadot space. It is now mainly deployed t3rn on across all of the EVMs, but the core ideas has stayed over there. So we only have the language agnostic cross-chain product that is effective and efficient for users.
Yeah, man. How are you finding it being used at the moment? Is there one particular kind of application that you are seeing it being used by? For a second, there is a lot of, like, one of the present criticisms of Web3, maybe blockchain generally, but Web3 specifically, is that there is necessary infrastructure. Right? We have to have infrastructure, otherwise there's nothing to actually, there's no playground to actually play in. But we do need killer applications, and we need use cases for that infrastructure. I was wondering, how are you finding? Do you consider yourself an infrastructure piece, or are you an application piece? Are you somewhere in the middle? And how are you finding it used?
Nice point. So this is, I believe, something that we don't want to dive too deep into, like us being a producer of the killer app, that we hear about in crypto for several years already. In turn, we are rather making an effective use of everything that is out there already accessible for the users, and just simply being this connective tissue that allows developers to build on top of it. In terms of the killer apps and the applications there, this is quite interesting, because like at the same time, users, they definitely don't want to see too much friction of, it's been like touched on like different discussions actually, that was a part of, like, I think in the last week, something about the rule of like 3 clicks, that like a user is usually, it's being too much difficulty and too much pressure for the user kind of regularly if you need to interact something more with, like 15 clicks, 20 clicks, like put one thing here, So at the same time, we want to remove this friction as much as possible and like have those kind of applications, doesn't matter with how many chains do they interact with. We do want to have this user interfacing app, which is like as accessible as possible for the end user. But at the same time, it kind of touches on like a very interesting question, and like, how do we do it that there is so many potentially complicated applications out there for us to integrate with and connect with, at the same time keeping this seamless experience for the user that is not, providing this blockade for them, pushing them away by the user interfaces being simply too convoluted, too difficult to use.
Oh yeah, man. That's one of the things I really like about t3rn actually, is otherwise for the very technologically astute cryptocurrency or Web3 user who's been around for many years, it might not be such a big issue to have a wallet on 5 or 8 or 15 different chains for different purposes. If you have Bitcoin over here, or you want to have DeFi over there and your NFTs over there, or it's hot over here now, but then that's cooling off, and so we need to come over here. But for the average person, any of my neighbors, for example, or the proverbial grandma, there's no possible way they're going to be able to do that kind of stuff. They need that kind of unified interface, right? So I'm wondering, do you think that something like t3rn then enables, because you don't have to pick a winner anymore, right? It's not like one chain to rule them all, but rather you can actually go, truly cross-chain. Do you think that's going to proliferate more chains, or do you think there will be consolidation in chains even as cross-chain swaps becomes much more frictionless?
I think it's all evolving at the same time, to be honest, so there's so many solutions like them for cross-chain messaging, so this is nice. So at the same time, it means that the cross-chain solutions that already have integrated with multiple chains, with multiple ecosystems at once, that now they can integrate to one another, by meaning that like you don't even need to integrate with one single chain, but by integrating with the entire protocol, you kind of get the access to, I don't know, like 10, 15 chains at once. So this is something very nice. So at the same time, there is the unification of the interfaces provisioned by products like t3rn that have the kind of the cross-chain protocol above it. So at the same time, the protocols, the cross-chain protocols are evolving. At the same time, there's just like this, like cool trends in the crypto industry, really. That no one is able to like predict. Multiple different ecosystems kind of picking up different traction, like there's Sui out there, there's Hyperliquid out there, there's Monad out there, kind of evolving by themselves in their own pace. So yeah, obviously, this is becoming like everyone's aligned interest, I believe, to harness as much utility as possible and kind of push them back to the user's light, where I think we're all winners here, in the sense that the more cool ecosystem is out there to integrate, and the more cool protocols is there integrating, the sooner user gets in hands all of this kind of cool applications and the cool use cases to their hands.
What are some of the things that L1s have done historically, or L1s or L2s, even L3s? What are some of the things that has been done historically, or even still now, that make interoperability more difficult? Like, obviously, again, if you rewind 5 years ago, there was some attempts at interoperability, and EVM was really starting to find its feet and get some adoption across different scaling options, and even true cross chains. But are there still outliers who don't care about interoperability, or is it becoming something that's necessary? And if it is necessary, what are some of the things that maybe are barriers, vestigial barriers that people just weren't thinking about as they were building up their chains, or even ones that are being built in today? Are you finding any of those, are any chains particularly hard to integrate? You don't have to name names, obviously.
But effectively, like effectively any new one that is proposing like the one new novel solution, now we're gonna kill all of them. I don't think this is applicable anymore, to be honest. Like, it's gonna be kind of difficult for any new L1 to kind of push through the narrative like, okay, we are the new Ethereum killer now. Like, I don't think this is applicable anymore. Probably most of the products that are there, most of the L1s are there, they just like need to be integrated into the current standards of EVM RPCs, of envision how to integrate with IBC or Cosmos from the early on. So yeah, this is my opinion. I don't think there is much room for like the new killer new solutions to like force push their own new standards into how they envision the entire outlook into how interoperability should be looking like, because there is so many protocols, so many solutions out there in works that are being used. So I think this is the time stamp. Like, we're just trying to make the best use out of everything that has been built out there. And now, the game is kind of different, because like you can kind of like touch and feel the like, okay, indeed, yes, you can move softly kind of from one chain to another, versus a couple of years before it was all kind of, oh, this is the new novel solution. Like, maybe it's gonna work, People look solid, the team looks solid, let's try it, maybe it's gonna work. Now, you can practically kind of like touch and feel, this is working or not. And this is ultimately, I believe, the biggest answer to the question, is something a good product or not?
Yeah. Do you think, is there any good reason to to have a chain that prevents interoperability?
Nice one. Which one do you mean now?
Why? Again, I'm talking more kind of, at that philosophical level. Can you think of any benefit for an L1 or L2
Yeah.
prevent interoperability?
Yeah. Obviously, we're heading the Bitcoin maxi direction now, which is also like quite interesting to see the like there is also like now like all of this idea space of all of the the Babylon team is such to just start building now on Bitcoin and kind of like spread it amongst, so I think Bitcoin is quite a used one, because in Bitcoin's case, I don't think it's like a particularly good idea to like do what has happened for other tools/different interoperability, where this liquidity starts getting like fragmented, and flows away into different. So I think like Bitcoin as the store of value is like quite a good one to analyze. Like I think what would make much sense is like probably like a product that taps into this philosophical idea of Bitcoin. Let's make it a store of value, and rather enable builders to like tap into this liquidity directly without it leaving the Bitcoin blockchain. Because this is always like one big risk. Like once you have like something that is like this golden standard of security, which I believe Bitcoin is, you actually don't want to have like so many of this, different security consensus securities. Like when you lose this security over like this thousands of gigawatts of crypto miners kind of securing the network, immediately after you leave to like across different rollups, it's just security is like so much, so much different. So if you ask about the reason of why to have like one chain actually preventing the interoperability to flourish, perhaps this is like could be like an example. Like you have Bitcoin as a golden standard of the storage value, and you actually don't want to break it by convoluting the whole story by migrating it like across all of this like tools. Could be one.
Yeah. Mostly what I hear about Bitcoin is the opposite, where people are like, there's so much, potentially over the next couple of years, trillions of dollars of liquidity just locked up there. Let's put that liquidity to use. But what you're saying is actually that will maybe compromise or potentially compromise the killer app, if you like, of Bitcoin, which is its secure store of value. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, so like this is something for me, like that like still holds and stands. This is, I believe, like the beauty of crypto, like this kind of unknown puzzle of like the mining, which Bitcoin has upheld, and I find it quite beautiful. This is actually something physical securing the network in the form of all of the miners across the world.
So with BitVM or with L2s coming really to, or people building on Bitcoin, is that an area that you're looking at when it comes to that kind of cross-chain universality? Are you thinking let's own them all, let's become totally cross-chain, anyone can move anything everywhere? Or is there a part of that philosophical let's keep Bitcoin separate that would prevent you from moving there, or you just go with the market?
Oh yeah, well, here I sense that this question might be politically incorrect here, but I believe to stay in the to stay consistent in my train of thoughts, I would rather see the further evolutions that enable the toolset of building on top of Bitcoin in actually like tapping directly into the value and the liquidity of Bitcoin. And like if they were kind of fit into this idea as well, the integration this has all been like kind of based on the Litecoin. So like we don't play with this whole like a wrapping game, because this can backfire relatively quickly, very quick. So rather tap into the actual value of blockchain, of application, the sense of Bitcoin. To me, again, it is like this store of value. So let's tap into this instead of convoluting it and like taking something from one chain to another kind of thing.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, man. One of the things that obviously has really exploded onto the world stage over the last couple of years is artificial intelligence, and more recently so agents and people building infrastructure less and less with human interaction primarily in mind, but with agents primarily in mind. Are you building this universal execution layer for humans primarily or for their AI agents? Or is it just there's so much crossover that it actually doesn't matter? You're just making it usable and humans and agents use it. Do you have I don't know, is there any priority in your thinking there?
Yeah. I don't think it matters at this point. I don't know who's more intelligent. We just need to see what they're gonna do about it. So we do have as part of that, we do have like a little experiment going for a couple of months with our own kind of AI agent browsing for like the most optimal execution paths. The ideal kind of future for it is to like, it does help to, help kind of discover the best optimal routes for executors to spread the liquidity across chains. This is something that our community of executors, which are really solvers on our network, is complaining a lot about, that they're being kind of like stuck with one liquidity on the asset, like on one chain. So this thing AI executor tries to prevent it. But it is interesting, like in general, like what's happening with all of the agents tapping into the blockchain world now, because it is just the mining of data for them. They like both work 24/7, both analyze, like the AI agents, they can literally analyze, infinite amount of data, almost infinite amount of blockchain. So it's very interesting what they're gonna come up with, because this stands in such a position to, I believe, like the kind of the systems that we got used to from Web 2 space, where not all of this data is, first of all, accessible, and then second of all, let's I dare to say, honest. Yeah.
Sure.
So it is. This is a big difference, and I think like Web3, you need to have this, the mark of all of the transactions, all of the hashes, kind of leaving the trace in all of the kind of blockchain history, versus you can kind of, have a little tiny tricks that you do behind the scenes when you make a Web2 applications. And like, so you can put something to the market and then kind of like do something by yourself, covering up before the product is fully ready there. In blockchain, you don't have this luxury. Everything is to work from the day one. Otherwise, it's exploitable.
Yeah, man. Does that weigh heavily on your mind? Because when I think about cross-chain and wrapping and whatnot, I'm always thinking about, man, where are those vulnerabilities? Vulnerabilities are when you try to either shoehorn things in, or where things aren't thought from the ground up to work together, but they have to be kind of retcons in together, then those vulnerabilities. And it's your job to overcome those vulnerabilities and to mitigate them. How do you think about that from a personal and professional perspective? Like, I think about even just recently, where on unnamed chain, they have hundreds of millions of dollars go missing, where it's not necessarily that chain's fault, and yet that chain can suffer reputational damage significantly. How are you thinking about this? If you want to be that universal layer, the one-stop shop, that omni interface, then it's your name on the screen there. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, this is scary and exciting in the same time. I did have a comfort in working the blockchains before, and it was like truly scary and truly exciting at the same time. I had like this thought that the show literally must go on always. So like any exploit happens, anything unexpected happens, it just needs to be remedied on time as soon as possible. Soft forks, hard fork, the show must go on us, and you need to keep all of this kind of previous history remedy anything that can happen wrong as soon as possible. There is no downtime in the blockchain. So this is like one big philosophical kind of difference. Like it is kind of like, we just got to like introduce like with this kind of tariff shenanigans that were happening. It is kind of funny to hear like when you move for a couple of years in the kind of in the Web3 space to kind of hear the news that like, oh, no, like the trading, we stopped the trading for today. And enough with it, it's not going the direction that we want. So like, let us pause it for 1 day, and then like it kind of, the trading activity on the traditional markets, it just stops over the weekend. It's just kind of like, unthinkable that such systems can still, exist sort of in the recent time sort of thing. So it is scary at the same time that you don't have this, press pause button as you had in the decentralized systems. But yeah, this is what it makes it exciting, I believe. That's why we all are here, hooked on, addicted to it. So too late, we're already all addicted.
We're doing it, yeah. Well, in that case, how are you thinking, just going back to AI, how do you think AI is going to change the game over the coming years? I mean, you mentioned before, it's really hard to kind of think we think back 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and we wouldn't probably imagine where we're at even today. And so maybe projecting forward another 3 years is almost impossible, but I guess it's kind of our job to do that. How is that informing your thinking in terms of both just Web3 generally? Because I guess you have perhaps a macro perspective. You're not just drilling down deep into one chain or one offering or one application, but you're really across a lot of blockchain. How do you think AI is going to impact Web3 generally?
Yeah, it is a scary thought. I mean, like, this is very interesting to see all of this kind of agents coming into fruition, like really start utilizing this blockchain data now. It is like at one, again, scary and exciting is all of the blockchain with all of its data availability and all of this kind of the training models having the ultimate knowledge of blockchain and ultimate data set of blockchain kind of improving on top of one another. It's very interesting to see what is it that they find really, what is it that they find blockchains kind of being useful, like which ecosystem gets like heavily, liked by the AI agents kind of like browsing into, battling into, all of the arbitrage, kind of all of the opportunities that are gonna open. So I think it remains to be seen, but it is very exciting. Like so many different projects, like hundreds, thousands of agents, start, being hooked on into the blockchain now. So it's really like remains to be seen what is it that it all kind of is being turned into. So this must remain unknown to me for now.
Okay,
but they are very, very happy to type. Yeah, a little bit, but like at the same time, it is very interesting for us to like also see, like once we interact with this our own solver agent, like it's interesting, like all of this decision, all of these findings that like it makes up, so we're gonna put it into testing into our system and like actually kind of like cross compare what are the profits versus the traditional solver that we use into our network. So I think this is gonna be like very, very interesting finding, because perhaps, for some use cases, for some blockchains, for some use cases in general, it just like makes sense. For others, it's just like simply, makes stupid decisions. And I believe this is gonna be, going into direction, building on all of these clever use cases that we know the AI agents work with very well, building on top of it. Multi-layer cake, essentially.
Yeah. Man, even I'm thinking about things like even just trading for already a very long time. Algo trading bots they beat human traders all the time. Speed and decision making and front running and all kinds of things like this. And then to think about a bot that can create meaningful intelligence rather than just follow a set of instructions after anything matters, that's a whole nother level of we're already behind as humans in terms of trying to compete with, maybe in most cases, algo bots. But then I think about AI agents, and I'm just wondering how long is it going to be before the average developer is developing primarily to interface with agents rather than humans, because humans can't play in that sandbox anymore. They can't play in their playground anymore because it's impossible. Even like you mentioned, arbitrage opportunities. Again, I'm not fast enough as a human to be able to make all this stuff happen. It's going to be the bots who are going to do it, and then again the agents, really, future speaking. I'm just wondering if you have an opinion. At what point is that threshold going to change from human first to agent first?
I really wonder. I mean, this is a very broad philosophical question to me. Like, when is it that AI kind of takes over? I think from specifically the crypto perspective, definitely something that they cannot replace as if is where humanity arguably shines, which is, the intrinsic human stupidity. It doesn't seem like, they can replace us there, which adds the beautiful twist in, like, all of the unexpected kind of like chaotic twists that happen in general, like to the crypto markets, in general to like all of the, markets and products out there. So I think this is going to be like a very funny tango always, like all of the bots kind of fighting against one another, but still humans kind of, they would trick humans, but at the same time humans would trick them, I think, with just like being so unpredictable in some sense, so I think it's going to be like a funny tango always. I would risk saying that now, but whether we're happy or not, this has become part of our reality, like we never know if on the other side is, either something interfacing with our protocol or something interfacing with us directly, like in the chat, typing this is like actually like a machine, this is like a human. It's just like one big confusing thing now at the moment. So I think in general, like we just look at the metrics and we just look at to make a good, efficient products, we just always look at the metrics, like seeing what works, what doesn't, who is the persona interacting with, whether is it this AI weird thing or is it a human. I think it's like a secondary question, but I do think humans still have lots of possibility there to shine and to mess with the AI agents, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Okay, let's go back to t3rn. What are you most excited about specifically for t3rn for this year, for the remainder of 2025? What's really exciting you at the moment?
Well, I mean, we're going to be launching the main products, so this is very exciting, So now I kind of putting all of the necessary, tool sets, matching together, making sure that this that the product is, like ready, 100%.
Yeah.
So this is arguably, the most exciting time in the t3rn's history in general. So obviously, all of the eyes on the successful launch. Trying not to get distracted by already all of the next steps in the roadmap that we have planned on. Next to this initial like efficient settlement layer that we have crafted, but we do have like all of this like funny twists in, taking into, integrating with all of the other funny ecosystems, making the better use out of this fail-safe umbrella that we have created, moving across the cross-chain space in general. Like we do have a couple of good funny partnerships kind of coming there with lots of more verification providers, for lots of more solver networks integrations with we do work with Fleek to integrate these AI agents into their marketplaces. So this is all kind of, time where we see all of this kind of links being tied together. So I mean, it's too much excitement, you know. I just need to keep my eyes on the one biggest excitement, which is launching the main product. But
when it comes to your launch, how are you like? What's the I'm thinking about in terms of that go-to-market strategy. What's your lead? Are you leading with partnerships? Are you leading with the technology? Are you thinking, man, we've built this amazing thing, let's just put it out there and see how people use it? How are you broadcasting the solution and how are you communicating your USP to the broader market?
Yeah, good one. Yeah, so the mixture of everything, you know. So we do have some cool partnership going on. I think this is like a very good strength of product like t3rn, which is kind of agnostic when it comes to the architecture, meaning that we can tap into the integrations of multiple different ecosystems with multiple different chains. So this is something that we've done for all of these months that the t3rn testnet was out there. Yeah, we have also tapped into the crazy engagement of the community really over there. You know, this t3rn's testnet being launched over there, this really has been a battleground for all of the executors and solvers competing against one another. I believe we had something around more than 10,000 different solvers.
Wow, all right.
Interacting with t3rn. So like, like I think today active we have like more or less like 4,000, but like across all of this time when the test was launched. So it was like more than 10,000 different solvers being there, more than 150K different unique wallets interacting with t3rn. So now it's just like exciting really to put it out there. This is something that really steals with, to be honest, like a little bit of confidence. You know, they're like, okay, like we cannot predict how the global kind of market, you know, is at the time of launching. We cannot predict how all of this, you know, cool partnerships, where they're gonna bear the fruits for us. What we do know is like at the end, we do have like something very efficient, really, in terms of the cost of cross-chain moving money. Really moving us across. I believe this is like so far the cheapest solution that we have seen out there, and it definitely shines for like certain routes between chain A and chain B. There is certain chains that like this is like really turned out to be very, very cheap comparing to the others, and this is also baked into the flexibility on how is it that the the cross-chain messaging and the liquidity is being provisioned into t3rn. So this is kind of done in the very decentralized way, where we don't really require, you know, solvers, executors to like add themselves to the whitelist to provide any liquidity beforehand. It's just, you know, this one big network of executors kind of moving. One executor can choose like to select, okay, I'm interested in this particular array of assets on chain ABC, but I'm not interested in any further chain D, E, F, I think is the next letter. So yeah, this is a variety of approaches. So we do know this base product that we have is solid and is good and is well tested. So yeah, we can't wait to essentially like push it out there to the entire world to see. Yeah, but at the same time, we of course are very excited to tap into all of these partnerships that we have going. So let's hope that this is going to be the work combined.
Yeah. When is that big launch?
TBD, but like we're really looking into the next months. So this is now the exciting hot time for us.
Yeah, that's cool. Zooming out from t3rn, what are you most excited about generally this year? Is there anything else, any technology, any movement in the market, anything that you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, everything that I'm excited is being part of t3rn, so this is the simple
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
the cheeky selfish answer to this one,
Yeah, man, that's fair. All right. Well, one of the things we like to ask people is, we've got lots of founders who listen, lots of investors who listen, traders who listen, builders who listen, and people who are just, generally interested in technology or the future or Web3 generally. And so what I'm keen for all of our guests is to learn not just about their area of expertise, but also how they think. And so I'm wondering, do you have any particularly contrarian views where most people seem to think we're moving one way, but you think we're moving another way? Or any particular areas you find that you are in the minority perspective? Doesn't have to be controversial necessarily, but contrary.
No, I'm just a crypto normie, I believe. I do like maybe to go back to and do a little twist, because I think it stands in like a bigger philosophy that we have for t3rn. Let's not try to make all of the apps and all of the blockchains and all of the protocols kind of universal, standardized, and like working exactly in the same way. Let's rather find like this nice niches that every different ecosystem tries to fill in. So the Solana with this magnitude of like meme coin and the volume of transaction, like this is something crazy. Okay, this is beautiful. Let's harness, let's harness it. Bitcoin being the store of value. Let's not try to dilute it into different, tools, like whatever it is that the Bitcoin is kind of leaking. Let's tap directly into this liquidity and build some another evolutions and primitives on top of it. So to me, this is rather like kind of pinpointing and picking this beautiful intricacies that every blockchain ecosystem has, and kind of making the best use out of it, instead of saying like, oh, why don't you do this because others are doing it. To me, this would be more like, no, this is beautiful, like you own your individual thing. Let's make the best use for you to interact with the other networks, with the other protocols out there.
Yeah, man. I guess actually, as you're speaking, I'm thinking, like on a football field, you don't want, like with under 5 football, everyone, like all the players follow the ball around the whole way around the field and kind of all doing the one thing, playing the same position effectively. Rather, you want people, really killing it in their area on the field, and that way the whole team could be.
It's a beautiful comparison. I understand.
Thanks, Matt. Well, so if someone wants to hear more from you or learn more about t3rn, where can they find you online?
Website is the best point of, I believe, start, t3rn.io. From there, you find the links to the X account, to our Telegram community. We do have a very active Discord channel as well. So definitely, if you're interested into running an executor as part of the t3rn network, there is a wonderful community over there that will be able to guide you through on Discord. All of the links available on the websites. I believe that's the best starting point, really. t3rn.io.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today, and all the best in the lead up to your launch.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off-Chain. We love bringing you great guests like Maciej, and hope we've inspired you to think and learn more about Web3, about interoperability, about the future in technology, and how we might build the future together with technology. As always, please like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend and help us spread the word. And join us again next week for another great episode of Off-Chain. Till then, take care.